When we talk about wealth, many people immediately think of money, numbers in a bank account, luxuries, or the things we wish we had but don't. Yet the first truth we must remind our hearts of is that real wealth does not come from people, it comes only from Allah. The moment a person begins chasing approval, favors, or handouts from others, they unknowingly place their dignity in someone else's hands. And when your dignity depends on people, you will always feel small, always feel anxious, always feel as though you are begging for what was never theirs to give in the first place. But when you turn your face to Allah, when you recognize that every door of provision opens only by His permission, something inside you stands tall again, and you begin to walk with honor, strength, and contentment. There is a deep humiliation that comes from constantly comparing your life to others, constantly thinking, if only this person helped me, if only someone gave me something. That mindset traps the soul. It places human beings on a pedestal they were never meant to stand on. People themselves are in need. They cannot control tomorrow. They cannot guarantee their own sustenance, let alone yours. So why place your expectations in a creation that is just as dependent as you are? True freedom begins when your heart disconnects from people and connects fully to the one who never disappoints. This doesn't mean we cut off human effort or community support. Islam teaches responsibility, effort, and working hard. But the inner reliance, the emotional dependency, the sense of security, that belongs only to Allah. When you recite this dua after Fajr, you are not just repeating words, you are retraining your heart to seek honor from the right source. You are saying, my provision is not in anyone's pocket. My future is not in anyone's hands. My Rizq is written by my Lord, and no one can touch it, delay it, or take it away. There is a dignity that comes with this realization. You stop begging emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You stop feeling desperate around people. Instead, you become someone who asks confidently from Allah and walks respectfully among His creation. And when a person reaches that state, Allah grants them a richness far greater than money, a richness of heart. Suddenly, even small blessings feel abundant. Even limited resources carry barakah. You begin to see how often Allah has provided for you, without you even asking, how many doors opened quietly, how many difficulties were lifted when you thought there was no way out. And once your heart knows where true wealth comes from, gratitude replaces desperation, hope replaces fear. You no longer chase people, you chase the pleasure of the one who controls every outcome. You no longer say, who will help me? But instead, Allah is sufficient for me. And that shift in perspective is the first real step toward endless provision, because the greatest wealth is the heart that no longer needs to beg from creation. So lift your hands to the provider and never lower your dignity before people. There is something uniquely powerful about those quiet moments after Fajr, when the world is still, when distractions have not yet awakened, and when the heart is closest to sincerity. In that time, the soul is soft, humbled by the stillness of the dawn, aware of its dependence on its Creator. When a person raises their hands in that moment and repeats a dua with intention, not as a habit but as a conscious turning of the heart, they are doing more than reciting words. They are reshaping their inner world. They are choosing to begin their day with remembrance instead of worry, with trust instead of fear, with connection instead of loneliness. And when that remembrance is repeated consistently, 7 times each morning, it becomes like a thread that binds the heart firmly to hope and certainty. Fajr itself is a test of sincerity. It separates routine believers from those who truly value their relationship with Allah, waking up before the world, standing in prayer when others sleep, and remaining seated afterward just to make dua. This is not laziness, this is commitment. Every repetition of that dua is a declaration that your day does not begin with the dunya, it begins with faith. It is a reminder to your own soul that before you chase opportunities, before you stress about income, before you worry about circumstances, you first turn to the one who controls all outcomes. And when this becomes a daily practice, the heart begins to calm, anxiety softens, and a quiet strength starts to grow inside. There is wisdom in repeating something 7 times. Repetition engraves meaning into the heart. The more you say it, the more you feel it, and the more your actions begin to reflect it. Over time, the dua stops being a phrase and becomes a belief, a mindset, a way of living. You start to walk into the day with assurance instead of panic, knowing that you have already placed your affairs in the hands of the one who never forgets his servants. And when challenges arise, you remember that your morning began with his remembrance, and that alone gives you courage to continue. This practice after Fajr also teaches discipline. It teaches patience, presence, and consistency. It tells your soul, I will show up every day whether I feel strong or weak, whether life feels light or heavy. And Allah loves the actions that are consistent, even if they seem small. A sincere dua repeated daily may appear simple from the outside, but spiritually it is like a seed planted deep in the heart. With every dawn, it receives light. With every repetition, it receives nourishment. And one day, without even realizing when it happened, you notice that your outlook, your attitude, and your level of trust have transformed completely. And there is also a beautiful closeness that comes from making dua when the day has barely begun. It feels as if you are handing your entire day to Allah before it unfolds. You walk out into the world with a sense of companionship, as though you are not facing life alone. That feeling itself is wealth. That serenity itself is Rizq. Because when the heart is steady, when it is anchored in remembrance, everything else in life becomes easier to handle, and even struggles become lighter. So hold on to those moments after Fajr, repeat your dua with presence, with longing, with certainty, and let your day begin in the shade of trust. Tawakkul is not just a word we repeat, it is a way of living that reshapes how we respond to every situation in our lives. It means placing your full trust in Allah while still doing your part, still striving, still putting in effort, but knowing deep in your heart that the result will come only by His decree. Many people misunderstand reliance on Allah and think it means waiting passively, expecting blessings without movement. But true tawakkul is the complete opposite. It is taking every step you can, working with honesty and sincerity, and then releasing the anxiety of outcomes from your heart. It is saying, I will do what I can, and I will trust what Allah has written for me. When a person recites a dua after Fajr with this mindset, they are not treating it like a shortcut or a guaranteed formula for wealth or success. They are aligning their earth with reality, the reality that everything happens according to divine wisdom. Sometimes what we ask for is delayed because Allah knows the timing is not right. Sometimes it is withheld because it would harm us if given too soon. And sometimes in moments when we least expect it, doors open so smoothly that we realize they were never locked in the first place. Tawakkul teaches us to accept these moments without breaking inside, to trust the unseen plan even when the visible world feels uncertain. There is a deep peace that comes when you stop demanding control over every outcome. Before tawakkul, the heart is restless, constantly worried, constantly calculating possibilities, constantly trying to predict the future. But when trust settles in the heart, life feels lighter. You still work, you still try, you still plan, but you no longer carry the burden of fear on your shoulders. You understand that success is not measured by immediate results. It is measured by sincerity, patience, and the intention you bring to your actions. And tawakkul does not remove effort. It purifies effort. It removes desperation from your striving and replaces it with purpose. It turns your work into worship, your patience into strength, and your struggles into opportunities to draw closer to Allah. When a person repeats that dua in the calm of Fajr, they are quietly renewing this covenant every day. I will rely on you, I will walk with trust, and I will accept what comes as part of your me. Recite and wisdom. Over time, this trust transforms how you see trials, how you respond to setbacks, and how you interpret delays in your life. There will be moments when things don't go the way you hoped, when efforts don't immediately produce results, when paths seem blocked despite your sincerity. In those moments, tawakkul becomes your anchor. It reminds you that Allah never abandons those who rely on Him, that He is still guiding you even when you cannot see the direction yet. And when something finally arrives after patience and trust, the gratitude you feel is deeper than words, because you know it was not chance, it was not coincidence, it was the response to faith and perseverance. So live your life with effort in your hands and trust in your heart, and let every step be guided by certainty that Allah never fails those who rely on Him. When we hear the word wealth, most minds immediately picture money, salaries, businesses, and material success. But the truth is, wealth in the sight of Allah is far greater, deeper, and more meaningful than what can be counted or stored. There are people who have millions yet live with anxiety, fear, emptiness, and loneliness. And there are others who may have very little in their hands, but they walk through life with peace in their hearts, strength in their souls, and blessings that cannot be measured. That is real wealth, the kind that cannot be taken away, cannot be stolen, and does not disappear when circumstances change. Endless wealth is Barakah, blessing that multiplies quietly, sometimes in ways you do not even notice at first. It is when your health allows you to wake up, move, breathe, think, pray, and function, while others with more money struggle just to stand or sleep without pain. It is when your family stands beside you, when your home is filled with love instead of tension, when your relationships are sincere and your heart is surrounded by people who care. It is when time stretches for you, when the hours you spend become meaningful, productive, and fulfilling, instead of being wasted in stress and frustration. These are forms of rizq far more precious than gold or currency, because once they are gone, no amount of money can replace them. There are moments in life when Allah gives someone limited means, yet He places so much barakah in it that it becomes enough and more than enough. A small income somehow covers every need. A simple meal brings joy and gratitude. A modest life feels full, and there are others who earn in abundance, yet nothing ever feels sufficient, nothing ever satisfies them, and their hearts remain restless. This is the difference between wealth with barakah and wealth without it. Real richness is when the heart says Alhamdulillah and means it, when contentment flows from inside rather than depending on what you own. When we recite dua after Fajr, especially with consistency and sincerity, we are not only asking Allah for financial ease, but for a life filled with meaning, goodness, protection, and spiritual richness. We are asking Him to bless our earnings, not just increase them. We are asking for halal opportunities, pure sustenance, and a heart that remains grateful whether life feels abundant or tight. Because if money grows but the soul becomes empty, that is not success. But if the heart grows stronger, the character becomes better, and gratitude settles deeply within, that is true prosperity. Wealth is also the ability to sleep with a clear conscience, to know you have not harmed others, deceived anyone, or pursued haram paths for gain. It is dignity, self-respect, and honor. It is being able to give in charity even a little and feeling joy instead of attachment. It is seeing the blessings in what you already have, instead of constantly chasing what lies beyond your reach. And when a person understands this, they stop living in comparison, stop measuring their worth by material standards, and begin to appreciate the quiet gifts Allah has already placed in their life. So when we speak about endless wealth, we are speaking about a richness that begins in the heart, reflects in character, spreads into relationships, and flows into every corner of life. A wealth that remains even when circumstances change, and a wealth that draws you closer to Allah with every blessing you receive. Effort is a gift from Allah, and dua is the breath that gives that effort life. One cannot replace the other, and neither one is complete without the other. N. We talk about rizq and success. We are not talking about sitting still, repeating words, and waiting for miracles to fall from the sky. We are talking about a heart that turns to Allah while the hands move, while the feet walk, while the mind plans, while the body strives. This balance is what completes a believer's journey. You recite the dua after Fajr, you place your trust in Allah, and then you step into the day and do what is within your capacity, honestly, patiently, and with integrity. Dua aligns your intention, but effort proves your sincerity. There are many people who pray for ease yet give up at the slightest difficulty, who ask for provision yet avoid discipline, who want success but stay distant from effort. Islam does not teach us to wait passively. It teaches us to work, to seek halal means, to stay persistent even when progress feels slow. Every action you take in pursuit of halal livelihood becomes an act of worship when your heart remains connected to Allah. Every hour of work, every challenge endured, every obstacle faced with patience becomes part of your spiritual journey, not just your worldly struggle. And at the same time, dua protects your effort from arrogance. It reminds you that your skills, your opportunities, your strength, your achievements, none of them exist by your power alone. You work, but you do not attribute success to yourself. You plan, but you do not place your trust in the plan. You move forward, but your heart remains humble, see? Constantly aware that without the permission of Allah, nothing could have taken shape. This humility keeps your effort pure, keeps your intentions sincere, and keeps your heart safe from pride. There will be times when you work hard, yet results do not appear immediately. In those moments, dua becomes your refuge and your anchor. It reminds you that Allah sees your struggle, counts every attempt, records every sacrifice. Sometimes the delay is protection, sometimes the detour is guidance, sometimes the closed door is a doorway to something greater that has not yet revealed itself. When your life is built on both action and trust, you do not break when outcomes are uncertain. You continue moving, but you continue relying. You continue striving, but you continue surrendering your worries to Allah. And there will also be times when your effort succeeds, when opportunities open, when your risk expands and everything you hoped for begins to take shape. In those moments, dua keeps you grounded. It reminds you that success is not proof of your superiority. It is a gift, a test, a responsibility. You use what you gain to help others, to give in charity, to support your family with kindness, to remain grateful rather than boastful. Your effort brings results, but your dua keeps your heart aligned with purpose. This is the harmony a believer seeks, working with strength, praying with sincerity, trusting with patience, and walking through life knowing that every step matters when it is taken with Allah in mind. So keep your hands engaged in effort, keep your heart engaged in dua, and let both lead you toward the blessings that were always written for you. Gratitude is one of the greatest doors through which Rizq enters a person's life. When the heart learns to recognize blessings instead of constantly chasing what is missing, something extraordinary begins to happen. The world itself feels different. You start to see how much Allah has already given you, how many moments of protection, ease, and opportunity have surrounded you without you even realizing it. And when a person begins their day with remembrance and continues their day with gratitude, they are not only asking for more blessings, they are proving that they value the ones they already have. There are people who live surrounded by blessings but never notice them because their eyes are always fixed on what others possess. Comparison blinds the heart. It makes a person overlook their own comforts, their own health, their own family, their own safety, their own quiet mercies. But gratitude opens the eyes again. It teaches you to say Alhamdulillah, not because everything is perfect, but because even within imperfection, there are countless gifts. A roof over your head is rizq. Food on your table is rizq. A peaceful moment, a sincere friend, a lesson learned after hardship. All of this is rizq. And when the heart acknowledges these blessings, Allah increases them in ways seen and unseen. Gratitude is not only in words, it is in attitude, in behavior, in how we treat what Allah has entrusted to us. When a person is grateful, they become more careful with their earnings, more honest in their dealings, more generous in their giving. They avoid haram income not out of fear of loss, but out of respect for the one who sustains them. They give charity even when they have little, because they trust that whatever they give will return greater, purer, and more blessed. And every act of generosity becomes a statement of faith, a declaration that the giver believes Allah will never decrease what is spent in His path. Gratitude also purifies the heart from greed and desperation. The one who is grateful no longer begs from people, no longer feels inferior for having less, no longer measures their worth by material standards. Instead, they walk with dignity, knowing that their true richness lies in their connection with Allah. When gratitude enters the heart, envy leaves, resentment weakens, restlessness fades. You stop saying, "Why don't I have what they have?" and begin saying, "Alhamdulillah for what Allah chose for me." That shift alone invites peace, and peace itself is a form of wealth more valuable than anything money can buy. And when gratitude is combined with good character, the doors of rizq open wider. Speaking kindly, treating people well, keeping promises, being trustworthy, all of these invite blessings into a person's life. Rizq is not only what you hold in your hand, it is also the respect you earn, the love you receive, the prayers people make for you in your absence. A grateful heart naturally becomes a gentle heart, and a gentle heart attracts goodness wherever it goes. So as you recite your dua after Fajr, as you place your trust in Allah and strive for halal provision, let gratitude be the light that guides your journey. Recognize your blessings, honor them, use them well, and watch how Allah multiplies them in ways you never imagined. So live with a grateful heart, give with a generous spirit, and walk knowing that every moment of gratitude draws you closer to